What's up, fam, and welcome to episode 10.
What am I going to do after this one? I go for 11?
Oh, yeah, because you have been doing that.
Yeah. That's okay.
You could just go like this.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Nobody saw what I just did.
She went like this.
For those that are listening.
Yeah.
For those that are listening, 10 fingers. 10 fingers.
And then one.
And for those that are listening, Caleb Williams, y'all. That's right. I'm wearing my Chicago Bears gear. Excited about next year. Can I tell you that the Bears cave has been closed for the last couple years because I've been discouraged, but I feel excited. Are you excited for next season?
I am not at all excited about this conversation right now, Velasquez.
Why not?
Because who cares about the Bears?
A lot of people.
Something's sticky right here.
A lot of people. Okay. Anyway, so great job on Caleb Williams, and I hope I'm pronouncing this brother's name right. Rome Adonze. Welcome to the Bears as well. So we got a quarterback and we got a wide receiver.
This is not a sports commentary.
It can
be. For someone who was, come on, get back. We gotta get back on track. We gotta get back on track.
Well, I wanted to get back on track so I can tell people how excited I am about the Bears.
Okay. Well, can we move on now?
Seriously.
Are we good on that part?
Are you good? Are you finished?
Save me, somebody. Yeah, I'm ready.
Do you have your fill?
Yeah.
Bears guy?
Yeah. Okay.
What are we talking about today, Velasquez?
We're talking about blended families.
Blended
families. 40% of families in the U.S. are blended.
That's a huge number, 40%.
Yeah, 4 out of every 6.
Wow, mathematician.
You didn't even know that. And you're just like, oh, yeah, that's what that means. Yeah, 4 out of every 6 is blended. The number of kids living in blended families has been stable for nearly 30 years. So for the last 30 years, it's been about 40%.
And we're talking about this topic. Why?
Because it's first, it's homegrown, right? We are in fact a blended family. Second, it's not easy. It's not easy. Yeah, because it's not easy. So, you're the statistics person. What do you got? And you got 500 paragraphs that you send me, and your daughter just seen some more stuff.
Why are we telling people that? We don't need to tell people about all of our research.
About your research?
We don't need to do that. We just need to just talk about it.
Okay, so.
Well, do you want to tell the people your personal experiences first, and then we move on to...
let's do the statistics first.
Okay.
I think we do the statistics first.
Do you have the statistics?
Yeah.
Whoa. You okay?
Yeah. So step family studies show that 60 to 7% of marriages involving children from a previous marriage fail. 60 to 70%. Boom, we made it though. We didn't fail. We were part of the 30%. We're 30%ers, y'all. We didn't fail. At least we didn't end up in I don't know if we didn't fail, but I know we didn't end up in divorce. Statistics reiterated, okay, so which found the divorce increase in relation to the number of times one is married too. So I got 2 on the board. You only got 1. So I think you're the strong one there. But I was ooh, psych, thought you had a friend.
You're stupid. Part of what helps some step families be more successful rests on the children's perceived bonds with both parents inside the home. So let's talk about us for a second, because I know that this topic is on high demand. We've had quite a few people that have said, when are you going to do things about blended family? Because we in our circle, we have a lot of people that have blended families. And so I think we should start with us. I think it would have been cool if Lewis was home. He could be part of this discussion too, but
our marriage group is above the average.
Yeah.
because they said 40%, and I would have to say it's closer to 60-70% of our
Of our
marriage
group
team,
that are
yeah,
blended, you're saying.
that are blended.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's not here, but we're going to talk about him.
Yep.
So
So, Lewis, if you're watching,
we love you.
sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
So we became a blended family. I mean, we could say that we became a blended family in 2004, 2005 when we got married, but
No, when we started dating, I was picking up Louis on the weekends and going to a hotel just to hang out with him.
okay.
And then I would drop him off, and then I would pick you up, and we would go out. So, and you've known about him since the very beginning. So
I have a question about that. How did you tell her about? Did you were just off the bat like, I have a son actually?
I mean, I started working at AT&T in 2001. Lewis was born in 2002.
2002.
So you okay?
So it was like around the office, like, Lewis just had a baby.
yeah.
Oh, whoa, that's gotta be weird.
Why?
That had to have been weird.
But we
though.
weren't together.
No,
right.
not at that point. We didn't
No.
start dating until October of 2000. No, excuse me.
September
September
20th,
20th,
that's right.
2003.
3.
And so you were just fine with that.
With him having a son.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't think
it's the smile, right? It was a smile.
yeah. I don't think I grasped onto the vastness of the idea of being a step parent when we were dating. I think in my mind it was that's his life over there and then we have our life over here. There was no there was no thought in my mind of I knew that he was a package deal, but there wasn't like a package deal right away. It was like, this is my son and this is you, my girlfriend.
Yeah. But that changed rather quickly and rather abruptly, didn't it? Didn't you have somebody tell you, run? Don't do it.
I had a lot of people
Who
telling
told
me.
you to run?
Well, let's see. The sheriff's department in the Arlington Heights police station.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. So
Wow, you guys have an adventurous story.
we have an amazing life, don't we? We should make a movie.
Yeah.
I think it would be good.
I mean, getting back
To what?
to the beginning.
Yeah.
In the beginning,
God created the heavens and the earth.
Yeah. And he said it was good.
Can I say I'm proud of my daughter for reading the book of Genesis?
No, I
now?
don't want to be the center of attention anymore.
Okay.
too bad. It is too late for that.
Gianna
It is
digging
too late.
deep
I don't
into
want it
the
anymore.
Old Testament, y'all.
What you don't want the fame? Thank you to our 160 followers that are.
Yay!
Why aren't you using any of those sounds?
Oh, because they're not on. Hold on. Which one is it? This one?
Are they gonna blow up our ears though?
No, they're not. Which one is it?
How do you?
Yippee!
Did you hear that guy's voice?
I like that one. Anyway.
Okay, continue.
All right. So yes, I don't think anyone really walks into a relationship saying, "All right, I'm going to be a step parent." I don't think that I walked in with that thought process, not until we started to get serious.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be talking about the promise ring story.
Okay. So why'd you bring it up?
Well, because
You
think-
already brought it up.
Well,
You got to
no-
talk about it now.
no, because I think that's when things started getting serious for me. For me, not for you.
We already know that rabbit hole.
Anyway, yeah, I think it was clear to my wife that I was um, hopelessly devoted to my son. And I did that on purpose.
Sorry.
I did that on purpose. Hopelessly devoted to my son, and it was every weekend, no matter what. Even if I was gonna work at the night, because I was a DJ at a nightclub. Even though I was gonna work at at the nightclub, I would have him from Friday morning, drop him off Saturday night, and then go to the club. So it was yeah, that leads me to a discussion we'll have maybe later on today or on another podcast on how I was really trying to make sure that my son had no abandonment issues, right? I was doing my best to make sure that no matter what, he knew that I was there.
But I don't think in the forefront of your mind you were looking to me as step parent at that point while we were dating.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you that there was a lot of things, and I wasn't a parent at that time, but there was a lot of things that I was very annoyed that you did.
Yeah.
Very annoyed.
Yeah. Well, it was my first, it was my first child. And can I say, my son, the birth of my son was my first unconditional, truly unconditional love. It was just mind blowing. It was just like, wow, this is part of me. It was, what it feels like, because that's what happened when you had Gianna. But
What's up?
but for but for me, that was the first time where I knew that there was going to be a connection there forever. Up to that point, there was disappointments with almost every relationship, both family, friends, and significant others or whatever. There was just issues, but with my boy, there was like, that's it. No one can take this guy away from me. There's nothing that anyone can do. And I mean, I stayed vigilant. Sometimes she would move and just be like, "Hey, how did you get my address?" Talk to this person, talk to that person, talk to this person. So I was very much, yes, I was very much an enabler. But even though he was baby,
I mean, it
wasn't enabling.
I'm not
at that
talking
point.
about that. I think that's what I appreciated most about you is the fact that you were relentless in your chase after your son. However, I'm talking about your parenting.
Yeah.
During that time, because there was a lot, I feel like there was a lot of compensation because of the fact that you weren't there 100% of the time. Let me read this thing from Reddit. Yeah. Because I felt like it had, anyways, I'll talk it through. It said, what makes a good partner for a blended family? Looking for some advice. I, 30 male, am dating a childless woman, 28 female, while I have a 5-year-old from a previous relationship. I have primary custody right now about 60% of the days. I love my girlfriend dearly, but we have quite a bit of problems around integration. She gets very distressed about the limited amount of time that we have alone, about the lack of freedom to travel and to do fun things, just the two of us, and about sharing a house with my 5-year-old. Are these concerns normal or just things that we need to learn to manage and communicate about? Or are some people just not cut out for this life? I've also wondered if it would be easier if I just dated someone with kids, since they have already accepted some of these issues in some of these issues, quote unquote, lack of freedom, alone time in their own life. Just asking. So I think that was us. How old were you when we first started dating? You were 31, right? Yeah. And I was 20. So I walked into a relationship kind of like the same here with this couple. I was a female. I'm a female.
Obviously.
Obviously. But I was young, getting into this relationship with a man who had a child. And so I felt that because I remember feeling that exact same way sometimes where, you were very much like, my son's going to be with me every single weekend, rain or shine. And that kind of, I know that we still had our alone time or we still went out, but it was an every weekend thing that I had to get used to because I feel for this couple.
Yeah.
You know, and then a lot of blended families out there that, you know, have to get used to this new normal. I think it got better once Gianna got here, right? Because ta-da, she's here and she's here all the time.
Yeah.
Even now.
Can't get rid of me.
We don't want to.
You should have heard her earlier.
Yeah, she's just blowing
I'm gonna
smoke.
change all the locks so you can't come in.
I'll text you the codes.
That's what I said. I'm just gonna call Poppy.
Good Lord. See? It still carries on all the way these years later.
Anyway, I know the way you felt, and I know there was some strange interactions with you know, my ex. Very strange. That's a podcast on its own. But you didn't show it for the most part when he was a child. You really were there for me, there for him. I'll never forget like first Christmas at your family's house and how he walked off with a garbage bag full of gifts. He was a grandson to people that barely even knew him really, right? But they lavished him with gifts and
It's such a grandma thing to do.
yeah, it was like everybody though. It was
Carrie bought him gifts. My mom, both grandmas.
yeah, it was like a garbage bag full of gifts. Yeah, grandma Shirley kept me engaged, which was really cool, and yeah, well, it felt weird but really good, and I felt like my son was gonna be okay in this family.
So, what do you feel like were our greatest challenges in terms of blended families?
Just like everybody else, right? Let's the X, right? That communication between us and her for me to get my child.
Well, and I think I would also say to those that are listening when it comes to blended family, especially those that maybe are not even married yet, maybe you're dating, or maybe you're married and you're still struggling through, or not struggling, challenged through the you know, this triangle effect, right? Where you're this couple, but you have to deal with an ex-partner. You know, I will tell everyone that, you know, to make sure that you're at peace with that other person. I think there was many opportunities where we tried to make peace and tried to have a coexisting, co-parenting, you know, peaceful existence with each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think I already said that. Like, we really wanted to be at peace and we made every effort to try to do that. But, you know, sometimes it works because I've seen stories where there's been like, you know, great co-parenting and they wouldn't have it any other way. And then there's times like for us, we had a disastrous, you know, very up and down.
There it is. I was gonna say it wasn't like crash and burn the whole time,
No.
but it was very up and down. And one of the things that now I'm looking back that we did, at least towards the end, is we stayed in communication, right, with how we were gonna deal with things. Right, this is what we're gonna do with the child support. This is what pickup is gonna look like. And so, you know, this is what phone calls should look like and should be like. You know, speakerphone, no personal conversation, no, not that I don't care how your mom is, but that's not what I'm calling you about, right? And so we kind of towards the end, right? Towards the end, it wasn't towards the end. I think while Lewis was still fairly young, we had decided that we're just going to be very transparent with each other in regards to how we're going to handle our communication and our handoffs and all the ins and outs that comes with it. And we had very, very good stints. And then we had some that were like, meet me at Humboldt Park if you want to talk. Oh,
Dang.
That was only once. And it wasn't in Humboldt Park. I said, you know my address. What was our address at the time?
20 something
Yeah.
killed there.
And
yeah.
I said,
Dang, mommy, that was you.
Yeah, that was her.
I mean,
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
sometimes you just get to the point where
It was
it's a bit much.
at that point we had really been really graceful with our dealings with her. We had gone all out, just kind of, I remember Caleb had something like, do something good for somebody, right? And we, they needed an air conditioner. We went out of our way and bought an air conditioner, took it, and then helped put it together. And we were really trying
On numerous levels.
to be Christians, right? To be
Christ followers.
And not just in word but in deed.
Yeah.
And it worked for a little while, and then it just backfired. And again, nothing to do with how we were behaving. But so if you're having a tough time, hit us up. We know what it's like, right? We know what it's like. We can talk you through it. Liz was incredibly graceful. I, at times, just would eat crow in order not to get into an argument with her, and then to make sure that I kept my communication with my son. So there is some growing. There is, I believe when the Bible talks about, suffering for Christians, it's when we are able to act like Jesus in the toughest of times. Right? That's, to me, that's suffering, because I can deal with pain. I can deal with a lot of other things, right? And I've been healed by his stripes, and I've been witness to that, and I've been privy to that. But dealing with the mental part, I know it's tough. I know it's challenging. I can speak to you if you're a father, and Liz can speak to you if you're, a mom, but it's not easy. Now, before the one thing that I know, and I'm going to speak to the men directly, your wife should come first. Your wife has got to come first. Your child, boy or girl, is going to grow up, get married, and move on with their lives, and then it's going to be you and your wife. And so one thing that we very early worked on is, okay, you're here now. This is our house, right? And we're here to love you, but there's still rules, there's still guidelines, and you have to abide by those things, right? Was it always easy? Was it always on time? Did I have to have my hands smacked at times afterward because, I did something that I shouldn't have done, or I allowed something that I shouldn't have allowed? Yes, but we talked through it or fought through it, right? But on the other side, we ended up closer together and stronger, and we had a united front.
Yeah. I think, what we know now, had we known this back then, I think we would have handled things a lot differently. But I think what we know now is, regardless of the situation, and clearly if you're listening to us or part of our marriage circle, that, we have got to transform our mind into thinking different. The world would tell us, that you retaliate and you share choice words and you do all these other things. But, sometimes, in most times, silence is golden. And I even remember, do you remember this? We were living in Mount Prospect. Okay. And I think this was right around the time that there was like police issues. Just to give some context, there was some police involvement because of some accusations against me, which fell completely flat. But either way, it just so happened that it was on like the same weekend. Now, mind you, we lived together. It just so happened to be on the same weekend that we knew that we were going to have Lewis. And I made the decision that I was going to leave and go and stay at my parents' house for the weekend. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah. I left my own house so that I can go to my parents' house so that he can have time with his son, because there was, still a lot of friction and residue after this whole, rigmarole. But I think it started there because, you had a really hard time with, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you had a really hard time with choosing me first around those times, because I was honestly like, I was waiting for your dad to be like, no, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to stay right here.
Well, I think, and I'm not going to pretend to remember exactly what was going on in my mind back then, but I think the conversation went the way it went because you had an interview with a police officer, and the police officer told you, this woman was serious. You may want to consider running right now because she may not be done with this, right? So I thought you were making that decision. Again, this is what I'm thinking now. I don't know how I was thinking. You're right. I probably was thinking like, well, this is my boy.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably right.
And I think that's, that was the major issue in our marriage at that time, in the very beginning stages, was I can tell that you had this, this conflict going on within yourself. Like, I really want to choose her, but this is my son. And so, I guess I would say, and I would speak to the men, especially if you are married now, just like you were saying earlier, that you have to choose your wife, because I think it created a stronger bond between the both of us when you did make the decision to choose me and to say,
Yeah. Well, I want to be fair with this, right? Because we're looking at it from one point of view and only, and we're telling the men, you need to choose your wife. Now, if you're the mom,
yeah, you need to choose your husband.
you need to choose your husband too.
For
It's
sure.
it's not a one-way
Oh,
street.
no. I'm just saying,
based
on
a-
our story.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I mean, this would have been maybe the third time that either you or me have said you got to choose your wife.
Yeah.
If you are the mother that has your again, that child is going to grow up, get married, and go, and it's going to be you and your husband. So you have to choose. You have to choose your spouse.
Yeah.
Right. And not that they're always right, not that but you have to choose your spouse, and you have to be smart, even especially when it comes to accountability or correction. Right. You may not agree with it, but you don't talk about it in front of the child. You may not feel that it's right, but you don't talk about it in front of the child. We've had instances where either her or myself had said things, had punished, maybe Gianna, maybe Lewis, and then we talk about it later and be like, man, that was a little harsh. And she's the sergeant over here. She's the
That
general.
was probably most likely her.
Yeah, so I have there's not, and again, not just with Lewis, which is the stepchild or the bonus child, whatever you want to call him, right? Our son is what we call him now, regardless to everything. Our son, but it could have been Gianna. It could have been something that she's punished for the rest of her life, and then I think the conversation, like, how are we going to enforce that? How are we?
I did appreciate it. This is going into a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I did appreciate listening to this teaching by Pastor Robert Madu today. He's from Social Dallas, and he was talking about how they were at church and his son did something like while he was in his like Sunday school or whatever, and then the lady was just like, he was not good today. He acted up and anyways, so he took him home and he asked him, he's like, you need to be a leader. And the son was like, I don't want to be a leader. And so he's like, and then we had some choice words, and I'm not going to say it in front of a large audience because you guys might report me to DCFS or whatever. But he said that he sent his son to his room for the remainder of the day, and he took everything out of his room. You remember when I did that?
Yes. I do remember when you did that.
So some of
This
my
was at Papa's house.
yes, and some of my
Yeah.
punishments were very warranted, especially when you were acting like a brat.
I mean, I'm the youngest, so it makes sense.
But I was also very, you know, I clearly we know that there's differences in the punishments that you give based off of age and that kind of stuff. But I think for the most part, when the kids were younger, I never referred to Lewis as my stepson.
This is true.
I never referred to him as my bonus son.
I mean,
He was
wasn't-
my son.
Wasn't there one time where someone came up to you and said, "You guys looked alike"?
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
like, "Oh wow, you guys really look alike," and I just kind of like chuckled it away, But I was very much like, what you do for one, you do for the other.
Yeah.
Like in terms of anywhere we were at, even with my family.
Yeah.
What you do for one, you do for the other. If you take one, then the other one's a package deal kind of thing. And people just kind of got with the program
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how we got off in that little rabbit trail, but
Well, because you wanted to divert away from how you took everything away from Gianna.
no, there was a lot of things that I took away from both of them. But, I think that was maybe one of my biggest annoyances about you was that,
That I was reasonable, and I didn't think that I can punish her for
Reasonable?
the rest of their lives
No.
without without air, locked in their rooms. And then who's going to enforce it? Nobody can enforce those things the way you used to be. That's
reasonable, or I got to
think-
be the
No,
good
mommy.
guy.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much how it went. It was like good cop, bad cop a lot of the time. If you wanted to hear something good, you go to Poppy. If you want something good, you go to
Wow.
She's
Wow.
not like that at all now. So, and
But yeah,
she
when
wasn't.
I
She
was-
hasn't been
when-
like that for a while.
When you want to hear something good, you ask Poppy. When you know you're gonna get a bad answer, you go to Mommy.
Wow, that's crazy that you would say that.
It was a fact, though, Mommy.
Well, what do you mean that when you want to hear something bad?
Like if you want to hear a yes, you go to Poppy. If you know you're gonna hear a no from Mommy, you go to Poppy.
Wow.
And they would get no's too. It
I
wasn't-
mean,
it
yes,
wasn't-
of course, but with things that are silly that you say no to.
Okay, so reeling it back, what do you do, or how did we deal with the because I know that we have a lot of couples that again are in blended marriage where one party has their kids, another party has their kids. How do we speak into or minister to those couples that are in constant like frustration because of the way that the other one parents?
Well, the problem is the same problem, right? There's different numbers of what causes people to divorce: money, sex, all that, right? But the reality is the number one killer of marriages is communication, the lack of it. Because everything can be cared for if you just talk about it. And then once you sit down and talk about it, you need to go into that conversation neutral. I'm not on my kid's side, and I'm not on your kid's side. It's just you and I. And then there has to be, equal accountability and equal celebration, whatever it is, right? So if they did something good, if it's my side, this is what we're gonna do. If they did something bad, if it's my side, this is what we're gonna do. And if it's on your side, this is what we're gonna do. And it should be equal, right? It should be equal. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. And then there's the factors of age and gender and all that stuff. So that kind of changes a little. But I think if there's good communication, not in front of the kids either, because that's not communication, that's picking a fight. Let me just say that right now. If you feel a certain kind of way, and feelings suck and lie every single time, but if you feel a certain kind of way, you should call a timeout, send the kids out of the room, or I think we've sat in the car when we used to have the little Displays apartment. We sat in the car and talked through something. We're going to leave. We're going to be right outside right here. You can see us through the window. Don't do nothing crazy or nothing stupid. We're going to be right there. And we talked. And that's what it takes. It takes communication, communication, communication. If you have different kids, obviously it's going to take a lot of, from two different, the husband has kids from another relationship, and the wife has kids from another relationship. There's going to have to be a lot of communication, a lot of grace, a lot of mercy.
Well, I also think that there has to be, that's the practical side. But I think what we would minister to, or we would encourage couples to do, is pray against offense. I think that's the biggest thing within a marriage unit, is that, is that the other party is offended, right? Like, and we've been there. Let's just be honest. We've been there where there's offense, and then you feel like you have to be on the defense for Lewis.
Yeah. So here's practical was our family meetings.
True. I think those worked, and I think it was a little taste of humble pie for us sometimes too, right? Because we didn't keep it at, I'm just going to mediate. You remember our family meetings? We
had one literally maybe a month ago.
Yes, we still have them to this day with our adult children, but we didn't mediate them and just kind of talk at, but everybody was involved, right? Because we even said, like,
how's your heart?
Right. But but remember, even one of the questions was, how do you feel about our parenting? And we had to eat some humble pie at that time.
The only one I remember, sorry, I don't mean to
No, go.
The only one when you asked that, I remember, don't brush my hair so hard.
Mommy, I really don't like when you brush my hair that hard.
Okay,
then what did I say to you? Then brush your hair. Anyway.
So can we give them the process, right? Because Gianna started it, right? If you have little kids, because they were little, how's your heart? Has anybody asked you to write these down? How's your heart? Has anybody asked you to lie about something? Has anybody asked you to hide something and not say anything about it? Has anybody touched you and made you feel uncomfortable? These were all the questions we'd ask our kids, right? And then we would give them, here's what I think you did well this week. Mm-hmm. You threw out the garbage without us having to ask you more than once, right? You whatever, right? You picked up your room. You did this. Now, what do you think you can do even better? And we allowed them to do some self-discovery, right? And they would say, oh, I could have. And then we do it the flip side. So what did we do well this time? And what could we do even better? And one time I was yelling. Do you remember? And I think I told you that you need to remind me. You need to remind me.
Oh, you mean Gianna said to you, well, Papi, you were yelling a lot this week.
Yeah. And it was something I remember. I think I told her, well, you just need to remind me of this conversation. And then she did. And I was like, yeah, but you're still doing something wrong.
But then she probably came back and said, but you don't have to yell, Papi.
She's like, remember, Papi, you say you're not going to yell at us. And I was like, I was like, yeah, but you still shouldn't be doing that. And so if I got to yell in order to get my point across, like, you said to tell you. And so
I guess be careful what you ask for.
No, don't ask for it, and then once you get it, receive it and apply it, right?
True.
And so, but there go your questions. You have to create interaction, so that way you're not just there like, this is what we're gonna do. You need to have this. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. No, let's talk about it and make it equal opportunities for both to share.
And I think what also helped too, because for a long time we would do this thing where you were like afraid to say something to Gianna, so you were looking to me for me to do it, and then vice versa.
That still happens, by the way.
And it still does happen, but I have less of an issue doing it than he does. Be honest.
Yeah.
I'm okay going to our adult children and saying, hey, you mind cleaning up your bathroom? Looks kind of gross in there. But I think, the communication thing is the communication piece is really key, because we know a lot of people that are not communicating, and because we're not communicating, and because our spouse is not communicating, now we're growing bitterness not only towards our spouse, but we're growing bitterness towards the kids.
Yeah.
And so, and that has to that has to be addressed quickly, because once bitterness sets in,
Yeah.
anger, and it just becomes like a snowball effect, and we got to be careful with that.
And the child feels it and responds in like, right? They respond the same way we're treating them is what they can feel it. They can feel it. We can feel it
Yeah.
when someone is off with us.
I love our conversations now. Do you remember your dad wasn't here? I think he was working, but Lewis had come home, and I was just annoyed. I was annoyed with him. He works long hours. His room is a mess, whatever. And I just remember feeling good about us. We sat down and I told him that I was annoyed with him. And although he like laughed it off, in the end, he apologized, and it made me feel better, but it also made me feel good that we've earned the right to be able to have conversations, because we started at such a young age with the kids.
Yeah.
So now they know that when we have these sit down conversations, it's not that it's coming from a bad place, but it's coming from an honest place. So it's okay to say like, hey, I'm really annoyed with you today. Like,
Yeah.
And
so two things. The first one is it start as early as possible, but it's never too late. They could
Yeah.
be in their teens.
Yep.
They'll appreciate the conversation. A second thing is you'll be setting them up for how their household is going to look in the future.
Yeah.
Right. And hopefully they'll able to avoid a lot of the same mistakes that we made as parents. Right. Although I can't wait for the grandkids to start running around here, and then they'll be like, my mom never let me do that. My dad never let me do that. So, but at least they'll know the importance of good communication.
Yeah.
The importance of good communication. And so, and even now, I feel like both of our kids, I can sit down and have either a debate with Lewis that can get heated, and then we can just kind of move on. And conversations with Gianna. I mean, when I used to drop her off at school, there was no sitting around and scrolling or focus on nothing. How was your day? Good. What was good about it? What was your class? What did you learn? Why is that important? So tell me a little bit more about that. And so you have got to be purposeful in starting communication with your kids, and think about your generations to come. Because if you're not having good conversations with your kids, they're not going to know how to have conversations with their kids, and then we'll be setting the next generation up for failure.
Well, I think I also, you and I talked about the some of the disorders that members of blended families face include separation anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, and conduct disorder. I wanted to touch on that because communication can help bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Especially for those parents that have, like we had, where Lewis was only with us, 50% of the time. He was here and then he was at his house, and clearly
it was less than 50%.
Okay, well.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at 7 days, it was maybe 2-3 days.
So like 20%.
No, it was more like 40. More
Well,
like
yeah,
30,
because he was
35,
with us.
40.
He was with us on the weekends. We would pick him up on Friday, and he would go home on Sunday, or we would take him to school on Monday.
Monday, exactly.
Yeah. So either way, there's still two different. There's two different things. Two
different lives.
Two different lives that
cool.
he had to get acclimated to.
Yeah.
And so we made it a point that we needed to make sure that while he was here, that there was consistency. I know in a lot of households, sometimes the kids go home and it's like everything that happened at dad's house or at mom's house over
Washed
the weekend
away.
is erased. But we wanted to make sure that consistency was there. And, and as Lewis got into his teenage years, we started to realize that some of these mental health things were starting to take root.
Yeah.
And we needed to be very, not cautious, but we needed to be careful with our words. But at the same time, you know, talk about those things,
Yeah.
talk through those things. Even when the kids don't want to talk about it,
Yeah.
you still need to talk about
Yeah.
it.
So we were a back and forth family till he was 14, right? Is that when we moved in here? Right. He was graduating from grammar school, just fresh going into high
So
school.
we've been living here now for 7 years this year.
Okay. And
Yeah,
he's
we moved in 2017.
Correct.
okay.
So
He was-
what's
I
22
was
minus 7?
12, and he was 15.
He was 15. So he was going into high school.
Correct.
Finally, you know, I had been telling his mom that, you know, boy needs his dad in his life to help him be a man. Finally, when we bought this home, she was on another route and she decided that it was the best time for him to come and live with us. And so
And we were grateful.
we were grateful and it was good
Until it wasn't.
until it wasn't. I think COVID had something to do with it. I think, you know,
Rules,
girls
and rules.
and rules. Yeah.
Yeah, because again, when you're living somewhere and there's not
Any real structure, any real
correct,
rules.
and then you come to a household where there is, you feel like, and he even said these things to us, so it's not a
Yeah.
secret that he felt like he was in jail. Remember?
Yeah, no, and he said too, going back and forth, even during the first 14 years, he felt bipolar. He comes here, we have a safe space, we go to church, you know, we go on vacations. He goes over there, and you know, it's the truth, right? This is what he said. Lights are out. You know, there's no water. There's no, you know, there's not a regular scheduled program for anything, and so yeah, you have to take all of these things into consideration. But he can attest to this, and he literally said it, that he's looking for his relationship to be like ours, and that he's gonna love his wife to be his girlfriend like I love my wife.
He said that a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm in love with her. I just want to be like my dad is with. The way my dad is with his with mother, because that's
I mean,
what he
I
calls
say
her.
that too, though.
Yeah.
I have high standards now because of you.
Hashtag relationship goals.
anyway,
I'm
I
afraid that I'm gonna end up like you. Just kidding.
I think you end up in a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Again,
Go
I
ahead.
think consistency, keeping solid structure, because here's the thing,
communication.
you cannot dictate, or you can't dictate what's going to happen over there, or you can't set any not boundaries, but you can't set any expectations.
No, it may be different for you because there may be good communication.
Yeah.
Maybe your spouse on the other side got married, they're happy, and they're talking to you, and your spouse and them are, you know, having dinner together once a month and kind of talking through the family dynamics. Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
But it just wasn't. It just wasn't like that.
It
For
wasn't
us.
like that for
Can
us.
I tell you? We prayed for plenty of our spouses.
No, oh my God.
God, hey, look, God knows I am not lying.
Okay, either way, there was peacemaking moments where we were able to be very cordial for an extended period of time, and then
Until there wasn't. For no reason.
Okay.
Just out of nowhere.
Well,
Boom.
This is not a therapy session for us.
No,
to watch.
I don't need therapy. Bless the Lord. I've been redeemed.
Okay, but we're talking, and I mean,
But I'm just saying.
You're
So
right.
there's some of you that don't have that issue. We're just giving you worst case scenarios, which is what we had to live through, what we had to walk through, right? And I know even if there is some cordialness, if that's even a word, and I hate when people mess up words, even if it's not, even if it is cordial, you still may feel like it's not what you want for your child, or for your child to be a part of or to see. And so you have got to work really hard so that when they're with you, that there's stability, that there's a continuity, and that they realize. So if I could, your wife is your life partner. There's notes that I took. It's your life partner, and you have to protect that. You have to protect that. When we moved in here to our forever home, Louis came to live with us, and it started well. But my desire for Louis to have his mom in his life, remember, because he came and he was like, I don't want nothing to do with that. But my desire for him to want his mom in his life kind of changed Louis's perspective on what it is that he wanted to do with his life. And he knows this is his story. 6 months before he graduated, he was going to master's commissions and he was going to be a history teacher, and he had his whole life set up. And then he met a girl, and that turned the whole thing upside down. And then his option was to move with his mom or get his life right, and he decided to move with his mom. And so that then changed, and then now we are again now with a son that's on the weekends, or a son whenever we can get a hold of him, and so that's rough. But we had to make a decision.
Yeah.
We had to make a decision. I was listening to somebody earlier, and the story was almost exactly to ours. In our house, you don't get high, you don't come home drunk, nothing good happens after midnight, so there's no reason for you to be out there. And he was not having none of that, right? And so he moved back with his mom. And then he came back and he tried it again, right? I'm going to spend the night at my girl's house. Like,
nope.
No, you're not. Oh, well, okay, well then, kid, I love you. We started some good things here, but if you can't abide by our rules, and they were both of our rules, then you can't stay here anymore. Yeah. And he knew that I was dead serious, and so he picked up and he left. Now, he's back.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, he's back. And he knows that there's rules and a timeline. And so the good thing is, he doesn't bring any lunacy into our house. And so I'm glad to share that. He's a little messy, son. So if you're listening, he's a little messy in his room.
A little? No. We're not gonna under exaggerate.
Yeah, he's certainly
he's not here to defend himself.
He's certainly living like a bachelor down there.
Yes, he is.
Let's just put it that way. He's certainly living like a bachelor, but we have good communication, and when we feel like there's something we need to share with him, he knows that we don't have a problem. We share it, and he receives it typically pretty well.
Oh, nuts.
I'm curious. I mean, I know that Louis was in and out, but thinking about like the family dynamic, did you ever feel that there was a difference between you and Louis?
No. I don't think it hit me that he was my stepbrother until like...
Well, he wasn't your stepbrother. He was your half-brother.
Right. Half-brother, sorry.
Yeah.
It didn't hit me that he was my half-brother until like later down the line. Like it never crossed my mind that he was my half-brother. It like...
He was just your brother.
He was just my brother. Like...
Well, I mean, he is just your brother, but I get what you're saying.
No, like it's different because he went away on the weekends, and I mean...
Yeah, you were going to school.
It wasn't like I slept in his bed half the time, so it didn't affect me. I mean, it affected me when things hit the fan. Is that the right term?
Yeah.
Things hit the fan.
Yeah.
It did affect me, but I don't think it
You're talking about when Louis left during the high school times.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about in general.
Oh.
When issues came up about his mom and stuff like that, it affected me too. So, either way, it didn't. I mean, I remember the drives we would take to get him back and forth, conversations. She would come up to the window and talk to you guys on a good day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember all of that,
but vacations were always us, and
we were always together.
Yeah. Holidays was a weird one later on. Yeah. I
remember before it was like he came wherever we went, but later on it was like, I'm going to go be with my mom.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
Well, fine. I can't get specific about that, but
Why?
when we were in certain areas, that was fine. But I can't say it.
What do you mean? You mean when we went by my my side of the family?
It was nicer when Lewis was there because
Yeah,
I had someone to talk to.
Got it. Yeah.
It's always, I mean, that's for another podcast, but it's always like that in a family unit.
Yeah.
So you're always either closest to the mom side of the house or you're closer to your dad's side of the family. It really depends on who you're spending most of the time with. And, during that time, your cousins were closer to your age, so you were naturally closer to my side of the family.
Either
But-
way, I mean, going back on topic.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've always wondered what your perspective was back then when it came to our family dynamic, knowing that Lewis was here. And then I remember Gianna being sad when he had to go home, especially when she was little or when we were going to pick him up. When are we picking Babu up? Are we going to get Babu?
I knew she was going to bring that up. I knew it.
It's just cute. It just came out of nowhere. Where did you get that from?
Probably from you saying brother, and I don't know how to pronounce things. Maybe that's where I got it from. Hello, Babu sounds like brother.
And who used to say drapes? Her too?
Lewis. No.
Lewis.
Drapes.
Lewis.
What's drapes?
Grapes.
Oh,
Are we going to grandma's to have some drapes? Anyway, we went down a rabbit hole, didn't we?
No, you were asking her about
Yeah,
how she
about
was.
how I felt.
How do you feel now about having him back?
It's actually a little bit weirder.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel like when he came back, it was like, well, first of all, we barely saw him. So it was a rare occasion to see him after the quarantine. So when he came back, it was like he was a different person from the last time I saw him. So
Mm.
I mean, it's still a little weird to look at him sometimes.
Yeah.
Even when you showed me that video of that AOTK video that you did, it was very weird. I was like, that's Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who this man is downstairs.
And so I agree. He's a man now, and he just got a promotion. So if you're in the Cicero area,
Oh my gosh.
stop by.
Go get you some pancakes
Yep, he's
at a very popular pancake restaurant.
yeah. He's the manager at the
Starts with I.
Sounds like hop.
Sounds like pop.
He's a manager now, so he's becoming a man. He's running things. I'm proud of him. I think we should pop in this weekend with a little congratulation balloon and
Yeah,
a
but
little cake
isn't he in a different location now?
for this week as he's doing his training. That's what I'm saying, on the weekend.
How old is that picture?
Well, you were 2, which means Lewis was closer to about 5.
Okay, so it's 16 years old.
Mm-hmm. That was good old J.C. Penney.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Going to J.C. Penney to take the pictures. And that
those
was
are coming back. Did
I
you
know.
see those?
Yes. But that wasn't me.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Your dad was the cheese master.
We should do that. We should recreate those again. I should sit on Poppy's back again.
I wish you would have put the Bears one up there.
Well, I can.
The Bears one is cool. I think.
There's too much of a glare.
I remember we had an incident in our house where we're not proud of, and the fire department had to come and the ambulance.
What?
And
Where was I?
you were not in the house.
No, you were
Wait,
at my dad, my parents.
Yeah, we had. I want to say there was I think we had my sister, Mari, and we were
We were
watching a football
alone.
game. But I think we were watching a football game.
Right, but we were alone.
We were alone at this point.
Yes.
Yes. And anyway, so we had so the ambulance guys sent the fire department away, and they sat down with us like, look at these pictures. You have such a beautiful family. What is wrong with you?
What were you doing?
Oh, we're too embarrassed to say.
Yeah, we were partaking in things that we should not have.
Wow.
Yeah. And your mom gave me the scare of my life. That's for another day. But I called. I'm the one who called 911. What to do? And
What is happening?
the fireman showed up, and the fire guy, he was like, I don't know. There's a weird smell in the air. And the ambulance guy was like, no, you can go. You can go. We got this. We'll take care of this. And he was like, they wanted to call the police. I was like, okay.
You guys, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You guys are unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, if you want to make a movie, I think we have multiple chapters available.
This is crazy lore that you're dropping.
First of all, this was BC. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we were saved.
No.
Yeah.
That was like 2009.
I've been saved since I was...
Oh, here we go again. Since he was in jail.
Since I was in the county jail, I was saved then.
Okay, you
There
might
was
have...
process. There was a process in
yeah,
place.
Yeah.
There was still a process, and I realized that we were starting to go to church at that time, but,
No, I don't think we were. But
Facebook memories, we do, because that was in 2009. It was right before we were getting ready to move, but that was in 2009, because I saw Facebook memories popping up on my thing not that long ago, and I'm still using bad words. I was like... And then I'm using bad words, and I was like, had a great day at church today.
Mom,
seriously. I was like, shame on you, old
need
Liz
to go
in
in the
2009.
past and slap yourself in the face.
Oh, I was ashamed of myself. Anyways,
there was
we
a
went down.
process.
We went down another rabbit hole.
No.
We were talking about these pictures,
Yeah.
but
So can we recap for them?
sure.
Go ahead.
What did we talk about?
Yeah.
Well, I think the first thing we talked about.
What can we give them to walk away with? Something solid that they can think about, sit down together, think about, and make a plan.
Well, I think first things first, making a plan about how you want to set clear, boundaries in your household in terms of how are we going to communicate to each other? Because we had to talk that through.
Yeah.
We had to talk that through. Like, how are we going to fight fair? And we are not going to make this known to the kids.
Right.
So what code word are we going to come up with? And I think at that time it was, can I talk to you in the bedroom? Can we have a conversation in the bedroom? Did you remember us doing that a lot?
How old was I? Like 3?
Possibly.
So setting those boundaries and having family meetings, coming to an agreement. Hey guys, we're going to talk about some things. They may not feel good right now, but we need to talk about them.
Yeah.
And being consistent with that, not rearing away from, not saying like, oh, well, we'll just meet.
Yeah.
If your life is looking like it's struggling a little bit, then perhaps we need to have these meetings on a weekly basis. If things are starting to move in the right direction, then, perhaps you do it bi-weekly or once a month, but consistency is key and communication has got to be a must.
And it was a perfect place to introduce prayer, to introduce God's word, right? Mm-hmm. We literally took turns praying, so our kids can never say that they don't know how to pray because we took turns praying.
Yeah.
Right. This house that we sit in is the fruit of our family meetings, and everybody prayed for a big house with 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a big backyard. Right. And we got 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a big backyard with a high fence, which is what we needed and what we got. And it's all because of our prayers, all 4 of our prayers. So you can introduce prayer, right? You do devotionals together. Even when I used to travel, we used to do devotionals together. So you have to insert God. I'm not downplaying God, but your communication with your spouse is key.
Yeah.
And you have to level set on what the accountability is going to look like and what the celebration is going to look like, because they both have got to happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. You ready to wrap it up?
We're ready.
What's your question?
I don't have one.
What?
I don't have a question. So
We're good. We'll let her have it on the other podcast. We're good?
Yes, and we're all looking around because our dogs are acting a fool in the backyard. So we are going to end it here and meet us next time on episode 11.
Episode 11.
We will see you. We will see you soon. Thank you for tuning in, and please like, share, and subscribe.
Boom.